All right, so one of the largest electric utility holding companies, NextEra Energy Resources, is a leader in clean energy focused on generating renewable energy from wind and solar. Offering a national perspective on the electricity generation front and the role of Montana as a solutions leader is Jim Shandalov, National Vice President, Power Origination. Please welcome Jim to the stage.
Hi, thanks everybody. My name is Jim Shandalov with NextEra Energy. I'm grateful to be here today, and I appreciate Governor Gianforte and the First Lady and the Montana Chamber of Commerce hosting this event and giving us the opportunity to speak. I don't have any jokes today other than the fact that I have PowerPoint slides. And I'm the only one to do that today, so we just worked through a few things to make sure I can take you through those. I'm going to talk to you about three things today. One, for those of you not familiar with NextEra, who NextEra is and what we do nationally. Second, talk about what's happening with the national supply-demand pictures, building on some of the earlier discussion today from the awesome panels that we had. And third, what NextEra is doing in Montana, what we have operating, and what we have planned for the future. And let's see if it works. It does. All right, so NextEra, obviously we're a big company. Florida Power and Light is our utility company that serves 12 million households in the state of Florida. It boasts, for the last decade, it's proud to say that rates have been below the national average. And when you look at NextEra as a whole, we are the largest energy infrastructure investor in the US. When you think about infrastructure as a whole, all capital investment across all technologies, all sectors, we trail only the hyperscalers and the wireless companies in how much CapEx we deploy every year. All right, this just gives you a picture. If there's one thing you can walk away with today, and it's from this slide, it's that we are an all-of-the-above energy company. You can see the vastness of the portfolio, and let me talk about each one just a little bit. The 26 gigawatts of gas, that's all in Florida. That is the largest natural gas fleet in the entire country, and Florida Power and Light is the largest consumer of natural gas in the country. What's not on this slide, but just a couple of things to add. NextEra developed the last major natural gas pipeline in the United States. It's called the Mountain Valley Pipeline, and it stretches 300 miles from West Virginia to Virginia. It started with permitting in 2014, and it finished with construction. After several years of litigation and some challenges crossing the Appalachian Trail, the project came online in 2024 at a cost of about $9 billion. So we know how to do big infrastructure, and we can overcome challenges. On the nuclear front, a 6 gigawatt portfolio consisting of five plants. 2 of those are in Florida, 1 in New Hampshire, 1 in Wisconsin, and 1 in Iowa. And the interesting thing about the one in Iowa, it's called Duane Arnold. Back in 2020, when energy demand was flat to falling, we actually decided to shut down that plant because the economics no longer worked and the demand wasn't there at what it cost to run that plant. However, now we're in the process of taking steps to restart that plant. We're going through some processes at FERC and the Nuclear Regulatory Commission to get that project restarted in the later 2020s, given what's happening to power demand all across the country. So we're very proud of that. You'll also note that we have just as much gas as we have wind. A lot of people think of our company as a renewables-only company, but that's not the case. We're a very diversified energy company across all aspects of generation, as well as a transmission company that owns several transmission grids throughout the US, regional transmission grids. Now, on the renewable side, with wind, solar, and energy storage, we're a world leader in producing energy from those technologies here in the US. We're active with operating projects not only in Florida, but in 41 other states and Canada. We're building the equivalent of a mid-sized utility every year. Just last year, we brought over 5,000 megawatts of energy projects into service, and this year we're on track to put over 7,000 megawatts of projects into service. So we want to thank Governor Gianforte and the current administration here in Montana for also helping enable projects that hit the grid quickly. Switching gears a little bit to supply and demand, you've heard a lot of numbers today on what's happening to the demand picture. This is yet another one, and we have it here on the slide just to help reinforce the numbers. When you look back at 2020, the forecast was relatively flat in terms of what consumption was going to be out in 2040. And over time, over the last few years, those projections, and these are third-party reputable studies, as footnoted here, that increased that projected demand in 2021, and again in 2024, and again in 2025. So a total increase of 55% from 2020 to 2040. That's huge. So we're here to help address that challenge. Now, I know all of you, we talk a lot about AI, we talk a lot about data centers. They get all the headlines every single day, including an article today in the Wall Street Journal that was mentioned earlier. Every day we hear about AI, but that's only a part of the story. It's not just data centers, it's manufacturing. You've got industries, reshoring of industries. You've got semiconductors, steel, automobiles, oil and gas extraction. You've got population migration that's taking place with people moving to Texas, states like Texas, Florida, Georgia, North Carolina, all states with high air conditioning demand, which also helps drive that requirement for power. And to do that, to serve that power, we need all available resources. On here, you'll see two things, and this is a projection of what resources will be coming online through the 2020s. And I want to talk about why. You see a lot of solar on there. You see some wind, you see some energy storage, and you see a pickup in natural gas. Natural gas is definitely making a comeback. As far as solar and wind and storage go, those supply chains are ready and able and willing to deliver to make those projects possible in the late 2020s. Those resources are ready now. One of the earlier panels discussed innovation and what's happening with innovation in the sector. Well, batteries are a prime example of innovation. Batteries were really expensive 10 years ago. We started putting in batteries to our utility scale projects back in 2020. Prices have come off since then. Technology has improved. The energy density of batteries has improved, and the efficiency of those batteries has improved. We are now actively adding storage to existing operating projects, and we're also incorporating energy storage in pretty much every new renewable project that we do. And why do we do that? So you can have that power when you need it. It's no longer intermittent. When you've got either 4-hour storage or longer, you can have that power in that peak summer day when it's hot or in the peak winter day when it's cold, and you need that power demand. So as you look out to the future beyond to the later 2020s, I guess one other thing I wanted to mention, and most people probably don't realize this, is that according to the Federal Energy Information Administration, 17% of the nation's electricity last year was generated from the wind and sun. 17%. Substantial piece. So we expect will continue to be a significant contributor to the source of energy here in the US, but that absolutely needs to be supplemented by other sources. When it comes to natural gas, and this is something that it is what it is. I'll just talk about the last gas plant that we built. And this was in Florida in 2022. A 1,200 megawatt gas-fired plant was the last to go into service. That plant cost less than $1 million a megawatt to build. And don't worry about remembering that number. What I want to talk about here is the magnitude of what is forecast. Right now, when we look at a very similar plant out in 2030, as we start planning for projects like that, the cost is more than double and almost triple what it was in 2022. And that's not just gas turbines. It's not just GE and Siemens and other companies that make turbines. It's other materials. It's steel, it's aluminum, it's copper, it's labor. Our projects are competing for labor with other industries like LNG terminals, data centers, oil and gas extraction. So there's a lot of competition for that labor, and it's hard to find some of that skilled labor, and that also is helping to drive up the cost. I want to talk a little bit about supply chain. I mentioned it for renewables, that they're ready now. There's a solar manufacturing supply chain that's global, that there's efforts to domesticate that. Similar with wind. Some of our wind components come right from this country, manufactured in Florida. On the battery front, we already use a largely domestic supply chain. It's not 100%, but there's a growing domestic supply chain of batteries. And one of the other speakers mentioned 30 months to market from idea to implementation to connecting to the grid on storage. We've seen numerous examples of that. It is the fastest way to reliability. On the nuclear front, that technology is still a little ways away. These projects take time to develop. And going back to gas, just for a sec, if you order a gas turbine today, obviously there have been a few gas projects in the works already, and that's what you see here on this graph. Several are coming into service here in the 2020s. But when you look at, if you order a new turbine today, it will arrive maybe in 2029 or 2030. So it's just, to meet this growing power demand, we've got to deploy renewables now and plan for absolutely a lot of gas in 2030 and beyond. Nuclear as well. All right, what have we done in Montana? What are we doing in Montana? We're really proud of this project. The Clearwater Wind Project is 776 megawatts of wind. Started development in the early 2010s and started construction in 2022 and finally came online with this last phase in 2024. It's a large wind project that supplies nearly the equivalent amount of energy for about 300,000 homes. Now, we talked earlier, the governor mentioned the fact that Montana is an energy exporter. Well, that's true in the case of this project as well. The energy from this project flows to Seattle, it flows to Portland, it flows to Eastern Washington, to Puget Sound Energy, Portland General Electric, and Avista Utilities. All that energy flows there. However, the economic benefits of that project stay here in Montana. And I'm not going to read you all the numbers on the slides. You can see those for yourself. But the one I want to highlight, $200 million in land payments to landowners over the life of the project, allowing cattle operations, allowing other farming to continue to stay in place, allow the ranching to stay in place. So $200 million of landowner payments and over $200 million of taxes over the life of the project. We're actively working also to add solar and energy storage to that project, potentially to connect to the grid and try to make better use of very scarce and limited transmission. So we're looking forward to implementing that. And then we're also working on another project called Glendive, which will be an 800 megawatt wind project that will serve about 300,000 homes. And that's in the planning phases for 2028 and beyond. But again, I'm not going to read you the numbers, but collectively speaking, by the time we're done with all of the phases of Clearwater, with solar and storage, and adding Glendive wind, that is a $3.5 billion investment in the state of Montana. So, to wrap it all up, we are proud of our investment in Montana. We appreciate the friendly business climate here. We're welcomed here with open arms. We look forward to being a part of the overall energy solution here. And whether the next phase of wind stays in Montana, whether it flows to the west, at the end of the day, economic benefits stay here. And I will echo earlier comments I heard from other speakers as well. We need more infrastructure. We need more transmission. We need more gas pipelines. And we need to win the AI race. And we are here to stand by to help do that. I'll happily talk to any of you after this and have any more in-depth conversations to talk about what we can do and what we can do together to help solve the issues of the day. Thank you very much.
Do you guys all remember when we thought $1 million was a lot of money? And now we're talking in billions on a regular basis. It's just such a paradigm shift. And I would be remiss if I didn't put my day job hat on for a second and tell you every single one of those windmills on average has 4 tons of copper in it. So we are all very related in these industries.